undertake a study of the domestic manufacturing capacity for a COVID-19 vaccine. With that, I will turn the floor to MP Cumming, who has his hand up. Mr. Cumming, you have the floor.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and good morning to my fellow committee members. I have, as you have all received, a motion that I will be putting forward. And I do respect the work of this committee and the work that the committee is currently on. However, we have, in my mind and with my colleagues who signed the letter, a significant issue in front of us regarding the domestic production of vaccines. And earlier in the year, it was announced that Canada would have the production capability of up to 70 to 100,000 doses per month. And we've seen that the UK has already started with making appointments. And here in Canada, we still don't know when vaccines will be supplied, when they'll be stored, and when they'll be distributed. On November 20th, health officials confirmed that Canada did not negotiate the right to domestically produce vaccines from Pfizer, Moderna, or AstraZeneca, implying that even if Canada developed the capacity to produce vaccines, we put Canadians at the mercy of international production. So this is a very significant issue for Canada because without a vaccine and without rapid testing, it will be very difficult to see our economy return. So it's been 11 months and there's been thousands upon jobs that have been lost. We've spent billions of dollars. We've accumulated, as we saw with the economic update, a significant debt. And although we have supported many of the programs that have been put forward, we do think that the ability for Canada to access vaccines and to have the ability to produce vaccines is critical for the economic recovery for the country. And then that pursuant to Standing Order 1082, my motion would be that the Standing Committee on Industry, Science and Technology commence a study on the emergency situation involving the domestic manufacturing capacity for a COVID-19 vaccine. That this study examine the May 12, 2020 announcement by the Government of Canada regarding the $44 million to refit a National Research Council facility in Montreal for the purposes of the production of a vaccine in collaboration with CanSino Biologics, and review and examine all related issues, including the investment of $44 million into the facility and the necessary upgrades to space, technology, equipment, and personnel that would need to be made as a result. B, the potential impact of this initial announcement on the government's plans to procure other vaccines. C, the facility's prior capacity to manufacture vaccines, including past delivery orders and schedules. And D, the dissolution of the announced partnership between the National Research Council and CanSino Biologics on August 26, 2020, and its impact on the planned upgrades to the facility. And that in order to fully study this emergency situation, the committee invite the Minister of Health, the Minister of Public Services and Procurement, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry, and the President of the Public Health Agency of Canada, each to appear separately before the committee for at least 3 hours, provided that A, in respect to each of the ministers who does not agree within 1 week of the adoption of this motion to accept this invitation for the length of time prescribed, the chair shall be instructed to report to the House forthwith the recommendation that this committee be empowered to order his or her appearance from time to time. And B, in respect to the President of the Public Health Agency of Canada, if he does not agree within 1 week of the adoption of this motion to accept this invitation for the length of time prescribed, a summons to issue for his appearance before the committee at a date and time determined by the chair, but not later than 3 weeks from the adoption of this motion. So that is my motion, Madam Chair. I do think that this is a critical issue for Canadians, a critical issue for this committee to be able to study and be able to get answers for Canadians. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MP Cumming. And we have already 2 hands up on the speaker list. So if you'd like to speak to this motion, either use the participant raise hand or raise your hand and I'll put you on the list. If you're in the room, I can't see you. So if you are in the room, please make sure the clerk sees you and he'll flag that to me. So I will turn now to MP Jacek. You had your hand up. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to our Conservative colleagues for bringing the issue forward, because it certainly is one of great interest to me. Certainly going back in time, when I was in medical school, and this goes back to the 70s, the Connaught laboratories were such a pride for Canada. Their role in production of so many products, of course, insulin being the most well-known probably, but also on the immunization front, having a really critical role in providing not only to Canadians some very essential pharmaceutical products, but also obviously globally as well. So I also remember in the 80s, when I was in fact doing my master's in public health, that there was a great deal of conversation on the part of public health officials in terms of what was then the privatization move. In other words, selling what was then an organization within the Canada Development Corporation to be transferred to private ownership. And certainly public health officials at the time were extremely distressed with this particular move. So what I'm getting at is that this issue has a long history in Canada. I think the intent of the motion is obviously to look forward and to see what we can possibly do to encourage domestic manufacture. And my colleagues may remember, I in fact did question Minister Navdeep Bains on the subject at a previous meeting of this committee. So what I would like to propose is a broadening of the motion. So I would ask MP Cummings if he would find the following acceptable. Under the clause that this study examined the May 12th, 2020 announcement, to add a section E under D, clearly, and add the evolution of Canada's domestic vaccine manufacturing capacity. In other words, to look a little more broadly at why we are where we are now, and of course, with the intent overall, I assume that we can move forward and make strong recommendations for the future. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. So we have an amendment on the floor. If you'd like to speak to the amendment, I have MP Lambropoulos and Mr. MP Massé on the next speakers list, and I see MP Erskine-Smith, so I will turn it over to MP Lambropoulos.
Well, mine's on the actual motion, not the amendment, so I'm good with the amendment.
Thank you. MP Massé?
Yeah, I'm good with the amendment too, but mine's on the main motion. And
MP Erskine-Smith.
And I have an additional amendment, but I'll let's deal with this one first.
Okay. Okay. Is there any other debate on that amendment? The amendment is to add section E, the evolution of Canada's domestic vaccine manufacturing capacity. Is there any debate on that amendment? Okay. See, MP Erskine-Smith.
Maybe to the point about where we go forward, I wonder the evolution of Canada's domestic vaccine manufacturing capacity is good in that it takes us, I think, where are we at and why are we at where we're at today? Would it be, I personally, where my interest would be to look at the steps that Canada can and should take to restore Canada's domestic vaccine manufacturing capacity. And I wonder, would that be encapsulated by it, or would it make sense to say the evolution of Canada's domestic vaccine manufacturing capacity, including the steps Canada can and should take to restore it? I don't know if that would be a friendly amendment, but I think we should drive a forward-looking question as much as anything. How do we restore this capacity so that we don't find ourselves again in the position that we're in today? So
are you proposing a sub-amendment?
If I don't know if it's necessary or if Helena is amenable to that, but I think something forward-looking, not only the evolution, but something forward-looking would be useful as part, maybe in addition to or in conjunction with. I'm pretty open to the way we go about doing it.
So MP Erskine-Smith, could you give us some exact wording that you would like to add to that, just because I want to make sure it's clear to everyone? MP Dreeshen, I see you. I'll add you to the list Thank you.
So the evolution of Canada's domestic vaccine manufacturing capacity and the steps Canada can and should take to restore it.
Okay. Perfect. So we have a sub-amendment on the floor. MP Dreeshen?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And certainly I think what is happening right now is that we have to look at exactly the case of today. We can go back into the history if one wishes. I mean, I understand where the Liberals are at this particular point in time. They believe that they might be able to find a point in time where they can blame Harper, but quite frankly, it goes back 20 years with the issues and problems that existed. This is not something that we need to have a history lesson on. What we need to do is to look at what is happening at this particular point in time. We've had 5 years where so many different changes have taken place and that have put us in a very negative position. I remember listening last night to Moderno speaking about how they will be able to get us to a front of a particular line in order to make some of these vaccine available to us. But quite frankly, any major government or any major company is going to talk nice about where the government has been. But quite frankly, I think I know I heard from those discussions that we're going to have to depend on other countries. So it's a situation where we have to look where we are at right now, and we have so many different great companies that have fallen by the wayside. And I think that it's important for us to get at this right away and talk about today's issue, not go back 20, 30 years to try to get a history lesson.
Okay, thank you, MP Dreeshen. Now I have MP Jacek, MP Cumming, and MP Assassi on the speakers list. So MP Jacek.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I certainly welcome MP Erskine-Smith's sub-amendment. I think obviously history is very instructive. So notwithstanding MP Dreeshen's comments, I think we can learn from history.
Thank you very much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to see you again, even though it's only in virtual format. Can you tell the committee how long it usually takes your office to compile and release a report on alleged illegal lobbying?